For the past month or so, it felt like the next wave of the boosted course pass was right around the corner the whole time. Even though the gap between wave 4 and 5 wasn't as long as the one between wave 1 and 2, it was still quite a long wait until we got 8 more tracks. But then, after 4 long months, wave 5 was finally announced. Just like wave 4's trailer, the one for wave 5 looked amazing. I mean, Koopa Cape, Vancouver Velocity, and freaking Moonview Highway. Just from the trailer alone, this definitely looked like it would be the best selection of 8 courses so far. So of course I did play wave 5 a couple days ago, and today I'll be sharing my opinions on this wave, all the way from the track selection to stuff like the graphics and music. And once again, at the end of the video, I'll predict the upcoming 8 courses and also possible new characters for the upcoming and final wave 6. So let's go. Starting off wave 5 and the Feather Cup is the very obvious Athens Dash from Mario Kart Tour. Even before it was initially revealed in Tour, it was quite clear that we'd see an Athens themed track for the boosted course pass, and even the Feather Cup in particular because of the data mines and the feather theming surrounding Greece and Athens and all of that. Having played it in Tour myself, I can say that it's a great city track, one of the best by far, and of course this rendition beautified the track a bit and made it into a 3-lap compilation of Tour's variants. The layout of the track is by far one of the most interesting out of any city track so far. Couple that with the unique setting of this track and we've got ourselves one of the most interesting city tracks in the past so far. This track is definitely a very solid start to wave 5. Next up is Daisy Cruiser. Just like Athens Dash, it was obvious that we'd see this track return in wave 5 because of the very well fitting summer theme. This was one of the best tracks from Double Dash, and seeing it make a return in the smoothest playing Mario Kart game is a treat. Now, if I'm being honest, this was probably my least anticipated track for this wave. And it's not that I wasn't excited for this track, every other track just looked a lot more interesting. Regardless of my excitement level, it's still a very good track, although it feels like it's scaled down quite a bit, making it quite difficult on Tour and CC, which I actually quite like. Plus they added Goombas in a pool, so cute. Overall, pretty great track, even if I'm still not that excited for it. Moving on to Wii Koopa Wait, it's not Koopa Cape, but Moonview Highway? Yeah, I think I can speak for everyone when I say that this track's inclusion in the boosted course pass surprised me by a long shot, but I seriously couldn't be any happier about it. This was one of my all-time favorites from Mario Kart Wii, and it finally gets the retro remake it deserves. Mario Kart Tour aside, of course. But if it got its deserved remake is a bit of a question. The track overall is very faithful to the original, apart from the difficulty. A lot of traffic has been removed for seemingly no good reason. And look, as much as I still love this track, I am slightly disappointed by this remake. At least the atmosphere is a huge improvement over the original, and the track is still really fun, just a little bit easy. And last in the Feather Cup is Squeaky Clean Sprint. This track was first showcased in a Nintendo Direct from June 21st, and it looked to be one of the most unique Mario Kart tracks ever. Then the track actually released, and oh my god, this track is amazing. Not only are there a crap ton of references to the Super Mario franchise, but the track layout is actually more than an oval, right Sky Sunday? I mean, it's not every day you get to drive in a freaking bathroom, and while that sounds really cheap, there's so many cool details and alternate paths and shortcuts to take, it's ridiculous. This is definitely my favorite new course in the past so far. Yeah, even more of a favorite than Yoshi's Island, and that track was already really good. Kicking off the Cherry Cup is the once again very well-fitting Los Angeles Laps. This was always one of the more unique city tracks in Tour because of the fact that each variant was completely different from the other, and the treatment it gets in the Deluxe makes it so much better and compiles it nicely into a 3-section track. I was always pretty excited to play this track since I've never played it in Tour before, and I was definitely not disappointed at all with this remake. For sure one of the best city tracks so far. Next up we have GBA Sunset Wilds. This was by far the most anticipated Super Circuit track during the entire pass, and it's finally in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. From the gameplay we've seen in the trailer, it was a bit concerning whether the main gimmick of this track was in this rendition, since they seemingly only showed clips from lap 1. And well, we didn't really get a good conclusion to that, did we? Look, I understand why they removed the sunset because of the way the entire lighting engine works in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but here's one question. Why even bother bringing bringing this track back at all then. Like, if Nintendo already knew that this track would lose its main gimmick, why even pick this track for the pass in the first place? This track has just been kinda ruined in my opinion. It's still quite fun, but now it kinda feels like a very fillery track because literally the only reason this track exists and people love it so much in the first place has been removed. This is by far the most disappointing track in the entire wave. Moving on to, for real this time, Wii Koopa Cape. This was always my favorite Mario Kart Wii track, and seeing it return my favorite Mario Kart game is nothing short of amazing. Driving along a cliffside and through the rushing rivers is as exciting as it was on the Wii. It's only a shame that the pipe section is the ruined tour version, but at least there's anti-gravity to make up for the lack of rushing water. I don't have a lot to say about this track really, I'm just glad my favorite Wii track has finally arrived in the pass, and even though it's not the best rendition, it's definitely not a bad one. And rounding off Wave 5 is the not so well fitting Vancouver Velocity. Personally, I would have rather seen this track in Wave 6 since it fits that wave far better because of the autumn theme and cold atmosphere. But hey, I'm not complaining since this track is great. Not only is the theming much better than most city tracks, but it's also the only city track which has an anti-gravity section, which makes it stand out in a really good way. The layout is also really good. It's not too confusing, but also more than interesting enough for the final track of a wave. I just love that bridge section so much, it's really cool. And yeah, overall I'm very happy with the track selection of this wave. Really, the only mediocre track is Sunset Wilds, and I think we all know why. The placement of the tracks overall could have been a bit better, like swapping Koopa Cape and Moonview Highway, and maybe even Sunset Wilds and Daisy Cruiser, but that's just a minor nitpick. Moving on to the graphics, Nintendo has once again shown that they're really trying to up their game every single time. Wave 4 was groundbreaking in terms of graphics, with tracks like Riverside Park and Waluigi Stadium looking phenomenal. Even the worst looking track in a wave, being Mario Circuit, looked pretty decent. But in Wave 5, there's seriously not a single bad or even average looking track. Koopa Cape is probably the worst looking track of this wave, and it doesn't even look bad at all. Of course, I'd much rather have the more grayish rocks from the original, but at least they added some texture to them, and the underwater section also looks really neat. As for the other Wii track in this wave, Moonview Highway looks freaking spectacular. The beautiful city nightlights bloom from the buildings, and of course that gorgeous full moon looks great. For the city tracks, all of them actually look great. Of course, Athens Dash could benefit from some more realistic looking background scenery because, if I'm being honest, those houses in the distance look pretty bad. But both Alley Labs and Vancouver Velocity look stunning. I wasn't really the biggest fan of the daytime change for Alley Labs, changing from sunset to just noon, but honestly, the lighting engine from Deluxe makes it look so much better than Tour could have ever done. And of course, Vancouver was already a stunning track visually, even in Tour. Daisy Cruiser also looks pretty decent. It doesn't really look that special or anything, but I guess that's just due to me not really being too excited for this track anyways. Sunset Wilds also looks really good. It looks quite similar to Calamari Desert in some places, and that track looks stunning as well, so that's good. It's only a shame we can't see the track during nighttime. And finally, Squeaky Clean Sprint. Even though it's quite noticeable this track is actually planned for Tour in some areas, the track still looks really good. Tons of detail, references to Mario games, and even a lot of texture. There's nothing to complain about really. Of course, we have to discuss the music as well. So far, the music in the past has been pretty good on average. Waves 1 and 3 had golden soundtracks, and while Waves 2 and 4's OSTs weren't bad, they definitely weren't up to the standards of Waves 1 and 3. And Wave 5's soundtrack is pretty decent as well. Definitely not as good as Wave 1's or Wave 3's OSTs, but definitely better than Wave 2 and maybe even better than Wave 4's OST. I personally quite like all of the music from Wave 5. Athens Dash is very adventurous and upbeat, Daisy Cruiser is both upbeat and relaxing, which is an impressive feat I guess, and while Squeaky Clean Sprint is nothing close to what I imagined for a bathroom track, it's still a really nice song. As for the other two city track songs, I really like both of them. Vancouver Velocity had a pretty good song in Tour already, and it only got better in Deluxe's rendition. And to be honest, I'm glad they removed the vocals from LA Labs, because they sounded so stupid in the original, and I hate those kind of vocals, especially in Mario music. And of course, the band's live performance makes it even better to listen to. Sunset Wilds is definitely my least favorite music of this wave, but it's still a pretty decent song. I'm just not really the biggest fan of country style music. And finally, finally, of course, Koopa Cape. This has probably been one of the most iconic Mario Kart songs of all time, and for good reasons. I especially love the underwater theme, but the other two were also really good. Is Deluxe's rendition better? Well, the cliff and river versions definitely are, but man, the underwater version is just something else. It sounds so majestic and calming, and it's really faithful to the original as well, which is amazing. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this Waves OST, even if it still isn't as good as the ones from Waves 1 and 3. Now finally, let's start looking at my predictions for the upcoming Wave 6. But before we do that, let's take a look back at my predictions for this wave and see how many tracks I correctly predicted. So for Wave 5, I predicted Tours Athens Dash, GameCube Mushroom Bridge, Wii's Koopa Cape, a city track based in Madrid, Tours Los Angeles Laps, SNES Vanilla Lake, GameCube's Daisy Cruiser, and finally a Nitro track called DK Country. Out of these predictions, I got a total of 4 out of 8 correct, which definitely isn't too bad at all. I also predicted that 2 characters would make a return, specifically Pauline and Funky Kong, but I guess we all know how that turned out, and definitely for the better as well. So let's begin with the predictions for the final Wave 6. Starting with the Acorn Cup, I believe we'll see Tours Roma Vanti, GameCube's Dino Jungle, SNES Bowser Castle 3, and Piranha Plant Cove. Roma Vanti is the most recent city track added to Tour, and it's a pretty good one. Driving through the Coliseum and the many split paths, it's quite fun, and definitely has potential to become a great city track in 8 Deluxe. Dino Jungle is next, and it's another fan favorite from Double Dash. It's got a really unique theme, being, well, dinosaurs, and who doesn't love dinosaurs, right? Then there's Bowser Castle 3. Ever since its huge glow up in Tour, there's literally no reason to not include this track, even if it might play a tiny bit safe for Wave 6. But hey, there's definitely going to be anti-gravity here, so that's cool, and it's probably going to be a stunning looking track as well, so I'm quite excited for this one. And finally, Piranha Plant Cove, one of the more unique nitros in Mario Kart Tour. It's got a really unique theme, a pretty interesting layout, and it also looks really beautiful in Tour. This one has a lot of potential, especially in the visual department. And then for the final cup in the pass, the Spiny Cup, I think we'll see another city track, this time based on Rio from Brazil, Piranha Plant Pipeline, GameCube's DK Mountain, and Wii's Rainbow Road. While Rio isn't the most popular city ever, I'm pretty sure it can make for a pretty unique city track, and a lot of people predicted this already, so I think Rio is a very decent possibility. Piranha Plant Pipeline is another nitro from Tour, released just a few days ago. I haven't played it much yet, but enough to be able to say that it's actually a really solid track. Even though the name is absolutely terrible and the theme clashes with Piranha Plant Side and Koopa Cape a lot more than I would have preferred, the layout is very interesting and it will probably be a very chaotic track in 8 Deluxe, especially on Tour and CC. DK Mountain is yet again a fan favorite from Double Dash, and for all the right reasons. But fan favorite status is an understatement when it comes to Wii Rainbow Road. I swear Nintendo, if you don't bring this track back, everyone will be mad. Now, you might be wondering why I'm not predicting Mushroom Bridge from Double Dash, and I mean, do I really need to explain it? Not only does it clash a lot with Moonview Highway, but it's also way too easy for Wave 6, and even easier than Moonview as well. There's no way this track will make it in the final wave of the entire pass, unless Nintendo has lost any sense of capability. Now, for the characters in Wave 6, I think we'll see Nabbit and Funky Kong. I mean, there's just no way Nintendo is gonna leave the most loved and iconic Mario Kart character of all time out of the final character roster. And as for Nabbit, well, it's the Acorn Cup, resembling the acorn suit from New Super Mario Bros. U, which is where Nabbit is from. So yeah, those are all of my predictions for Wave 6. As for Wave 5, I think it's a really good wave. Definitely the best wave so far, regardless of some of the issues some of the tracks have. The track selection is by far the best, the graphics are amazing, and the music is also not bad at all. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm already hyped for Wave 6, and I think we all look forward to it. Let's just hope they don't make the mistake of picking Mushroom Bridge, and that they fix Sunset Walls. Please, Nintendo. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and do all that fancy stuff, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.